Welcome, NCORE family, and thank you for joining us, Setting Our Compass webinar series. My name is Dedrick K. Perkins, and I use any and all pronouns. I am the Senior Program Coordinator for the Southwest Center for Human Relations Studies, a department of the University of Oklahoma Outreach and the home of the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Education. We're located in Norman, Oklahoma, and I am delighted to welcome you and to be your host this afternoon. As we set sail toward NCORE 2024, which is almost less than a month away, we'll be in Honolulu, Hawaii, and we invite you to embark on a transformative journey with us. And this has been a 7-part Setting Our Compass webinar series. This series serves as your navigational guide, providing historical context and contemporary insights to enrich your NCORE experience. Whether you're a seasoned conference attendee or a first-time explorer, these webinars will set the course for a meaningful engagement, learning, growth, and connection. Today is the 5th part of our series, and all the webinars in this series are free of charge and are uploaded to our YouTube channel. So please go to NCORE on YouTube and like and subscribe to our channel. The next webinar will be held discussing presenter orientation. So all the tips and do's and don'ts that will help with presenters presenting for the first time, or again, seasoned presenters that may need a little brush up. It will broadcast on Thursday, May 2nd at 10 a.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, which is 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. If you need to utilize closed captioning, make sure your settings are set to on. Always remain muted unless you're requested to unmute. We ask that your background have no moving images or flashing lights. And please report specific tech, accessibility, or any other operational concerns via direct message to me, the session host. The presenters, or panelists, I should say, sorry, will take questions periodically during the session, but we'll also have a Q&A section at the end of the session, and feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box to make sure that we get to them. Our featured panelists today for today's webinar are Vanessa Gonzalez-Siegel, Pat Lowry, Amalia Mesa, Sedelta Ooashwee, Mycall Riley, and from the 2023 Dick Hilbert Student Scholar Award recipients, Dr. Tita, Feraud-King, Gislene, Reis, and Andrea Toles. So welcome, everyone. So just a little bit about me. Yes, I do work for NCORE. However, I was introduced to NCORE through being a student scholar in 2019 when we were in Portland. And so I want to kind of get that same information from our panelists. So let's start with Vanessa. Vanessa Gonzalez-Siegel, where are you? Who are you? How'd you get associated with NCORE?
Awesome. Hello. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez-Siegel. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I currently serve as the Associate Director for Multicultural Affairs and LGBTQ Outreach at Columbia University in New York. Do you need me to stop, Dedrick?
No, you're good.
New York City is on the unceded lands of the Lenape people. I have been affiliated with NCORE. This is my 11th NCORE. I started coming to NCORE as a student, as an undergraduate student, a part of a social justice leadership program that my undergraduate institution put on. And we took a bus to a different state and attended the conference. And I'm really excited and honored that NCORE is still part of my professional life.
Thank you, Vanessa. I really do appreciate you being here, and I'm happy to hear what advice and what information that you can provide to our participants today. Next, Dr. Pat Lowry.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pat Lowry. I am retired, although I have failed it many times. Formally, excuse me. Got a little message here. Is that better? Yes. I'm formerly from Michigan State University, where I served as director of the Women's Resource Center as my terminal position there since after 40 years of service. Since leaving, I have continued the work, consulting assignments, both at MSU as well as other institutions around the country, primarily working with veterinary medical education and organizational development with a focus on women and women of color and leadership roles in higher education. Where I reside, you want me to cover that real quick? I'm in Miami
Yeah,
Beach.
sure.
I'm in Miami Beach,
Oh,
Florida. I
yes.
commute. I'm bi-coastal. Currently today, I'm in LA,
Okay.
working with those wonderful people you see on my still shot.
I love it. How long have you been coming to NCORE?
I had the same problem others did today trying to figure that out. I think my first NCORE was 1995 in Santa Fe. So with a little bit of math calculator, 28 years. I was on the first NAC actually.
Wow.
And
Yes.
my first actual presentation where I submitted or with a group submitted a proposal was in 2003. And so that was in San Francisco.
Wow, that's fantastic. And for folks that don't know, the NAC is the National Advisory Council. The NAC is used, we as a staff and programmers use the NAC to kind of help direct the conversations that we'll have at NCORE. So from their suggestions, from their expertise, they kind of set the stage for what we'll see at NCORE as far as content and programming and guest speakers and things like that. And so for Dr. Lowry to have been on the first NAC, that's an honor. Yes, thank you and welcome.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
just Pat. No
sorry,
doctor, no
Pat.
doctor.
No, doctor. Pat, yes. Thank you, Pat. Let's see. Next, I see Sedelta Ooashwee.
Sorry, I have to get my stuff moving here. Camera. Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever we're located. My name is Sedelta Ooashwee. I am a citizen of the Mandan Hidatsa Arikara Nation. I'm also Cherokee. Today, I am joining you from the traditional lands of the Wajaji, the Caddo, the Osage, the Kickapoo, and the Quapaw. But currently, it is the capital of the Cherokee Nation, Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I currently serve as a senior program policy analyst and specialist with the National Education Association. And I've been there for like 7 years. And for the question about NCORE, I need to preface this with I'm only 30 years old. Just kidding, I'm not. I've been coming for 17 years. My first one was in 2004 as a student scholarship recipient. That was the first time I ever presented at a national conference. I returned as an intern for NCORE. They had interns several years ago, and then I served on the NAC as well. So my history with NCORE is long. I've been a part of NCORE over half of my life, so it's a very special conference for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone and talking about it today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sedelta. And next, I see Mycall Riley.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday, if it's Thursday where you are. My name is Mycall Riley. I use any and all pronouns. I am super happy to be here. I'm the director of the Gender and Sexuality Center for Queer and Trans Life at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, where I'm from originally. But I've been gone for some time and just returned about the tail end of 2022. And it's interesting to talk about my job because NCORE was a huge part of like how I got into higher education. It was definitely the space that made me see myself as like a Black queer person, that like having a role in higher education spaces was possible. I've had the privilege of going to NCORE for 13 years. My first NCORE was at San Diego in 2009, and I missed one after that, and I have not missed one since then. And yeah, I've been able to really come into my own in a variety of ways, both as a practitioner and as just like a queer person. I have the privilege of co-chairing the QT Caucus with Vanessa, who y'all met earlier. And that's a huge part of my relationship to NCORE. Really happy to hear from other folks who've been around with NCORE, and really excited to chat with you all who are folks who are new to the NCORE space. I'll be the first to say that I don't work for NCORE, but I have a lot of love for NCORE, and I'm really, really excited to share some of that and just be in community. So thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mycall. And next I see Amalia Mesa. Hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amalia Mesa. I use she, they, and I'm the managing director of Speak Out, the Institute for Democratic Education and Culture, and also on the NAC, National Advisory Council for NCORE. Very excited to be here. I'm currently in Los Angeles on the traditional lands of the Tongva people. And in terms of NCORE, I have been coming for 6 years, participating in big ways, but also once upon a time, I came as a middle school student when I was in 8th grade. So, you can
What?
start early, and here we are
Yes.
today. So grateful
I,
to be here.
she grown now.
Okay.
Yes. That's so cool that you came in middle school. So I guess I'll get right into the questions. In your current role, how has NCORE impacted what you do? Coming to NCORE, Maya.
Me, okay.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I think about is the community and network. Like to be able to nationally, like just the folks from across the nation, even at this point, international. I'm part of the what is it called? I'm part of the committee that's like the international group. And so we want to bring in folks all across the board, all across the globe. But just thinking about this, the community that NCORE creates is, you just don't see it anywhere else. People who are at the intersections of education, higher ed, racial, social justice, really digging in there at the cutting edge. I think it just there truly is no community like it. We're able to create some solutions together and to build and grow. And so, yeah, I think that is the most special thing to me.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. I think I have that same question for Vanessa. As someone that is working in higher education, working in a kind of social justice practitioner, how has what you've learned at NCORE positively impacted your current role at your institution?
I love this question so much, Dedrick. It feels like it is really timely in our kind of contemporary context. I echo Amalia in that the network that you build is absolutely incredible. If different institutions have different cultures around professional development, and just to be real, right, post-COVID, university funding has shifted slightly for professional development. And so being able to still attend NCORE and get that development that I wouldn't get in other places is so critical. NCORE is the space where when I'm looking through the conference book, because I still do the printed conference book. I don't like the phone. I'm old school. I like a book. The saying like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I don't know if this would happen at my school, but sure, let me go to this session about something. And more often than not, I've learned something from that workshop or that space that then happened at my institution that I was able to pull back from. There's also been times where when we're thinking about issues or organizational challenges, and it's like, great, there was this workshop on this. Let's reach out to the presenters to bring them in to help us out. And so we pull out the book and pull people, and we reach out to the folks as well. It's also a great place to build coalition work. And, institutions are organized really differently. Some universities are centralized, some are decentralized, some have centralized DEI offices, some have a one-person operation. And so it's really great opportunity to meet other practitioners who are either in your functional area. So I do LGBTQ student work in a multicultural center context, which is a very unique positioning of the work. And so being able to meet other folks who are similarly positioned or differently positioned within their roles, being able to build those coalitions across just your institution and nationally is just some of the ways. And I think just also the sense, the energy that I get when I leave NCORE allows me to continue. It, especially, the past few years have been very difficult in the work. And so going to NCORE and really getting the sense of I'm not alone in this work and this work matters. And there are other people who are just as dedicated and fighting with me is irreplaceable.
Yeah, 100%. And what I hear from both of the responses is the community, that camaraderie, that sense of I'm not alone in doing this work, because it can be very isolative when you're on a campus or maybe in just one center, and you're the only one. You feel as if you're the only one doing the work, and so in some cases, you are the only one doing the work. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for answering that question, Vanessa. I think also it would be interesting to hear that from someone that maybe has a different employment style, that maybe retired. So, Pat, would you mind answering that question? How has all the information and all the times that you've been at NCORE affected your work?
I would say, I think your question originally said in your current role. I'm going to say, oh, Lordy, I had to keep doing that. I'm going to say that in every role, not just the current role, but in my role as a parent, as a grandparent, as a colleague, as a friend, as a citizen in this country. I mean, every role that, every identity that I have, NCORE has impacted me, and I call it the 3 C's or 4 C's. You probably could get 10 C's if you worked at it, but as a retiree, currency remains important. When you no longer have colleagues down the hall, and some of you don't have colleagues down the hall anyway, then you suffer from currency. What is happening in this space that we all occupy? The connections that were already talked about, building coalitions, yes, but also building collaborations, which are different than coalitions, and sustaining competencies. NCORE helps me not only stay relevant and current, but I learn new styles, new techniques, new examples, new models, new platforms, or expand and innovate and innovate those I already have.
Excellent. I love how you were able to tie that to both professional development and personal growth, right? Because sometimes we kind of forget that those things go hand in hand. They are very much enmeshed in each other, because how can a person grow professionally if they're not growing in their personal life, if they're not doing the work on both sides? So I thank you for that. And it's beautiful to hear how that's affected the way you parent, the way you grandparent, the way you just engage with people in your life. I appreciate that, Pat. That's why we asked you that wisdom and that love and those connections. I love that. Thank you very much. I think my next question will be for Sedelta. NCORE is a span of, including the pre-conference, NCORE is a span of about 5 days, right? So it's a lot of content. There's a lot of things coming at you, not just with the breakout sessions, but especially this year, we're introducing some new setups with our keynote session, where we'll have a morning keynote and an afternoon keynote, and then we also have the evening events. What advice could you give attendees about maximizing their time at NCORE? Like, how could they structure their day effectively?
I think it's important to pace yourself. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, I think the first few years I went, I wanted to go to everything, and I'm not saying that you can't go to everything, but I think you have to kind of be cognizant of your own, like how you're entering these spaces. You're going to be hearing a lot of really kind of deep, thoughtful things. You're going to have things that are kind of challenging you at times, things that might be helping you. So I just think it's important to kind of take your own temperature check throughout. Take some time. I know some of you guys might have seen it, some of you might not be familiar with it. There's a big book that comes out. It'll be on the app too. Take some time with that before you go in so you can kind of like get an idea of who you want to see, where you want to go, what time they're showing up, because then you can really kind of schedule out your day, because you'll find that there's so many things you want to do. And if you don't take time looking at that book and really like, I mean, I go through the back and I'll even search names or topic areas. But just finding out what goes on each day, because every day is scheduled a little bit different. You know, there's different things happening. And so I think it's important to kind of familiarize yourself with what it looks like. But again, just kind of like pace yourself. If you need to take some time, you know, walk out for a second, stay hydrated. I mean, it's kind of some basic things, because you're really going to be having a lot of information coming your way, and just kind of take care of yourself in the space and just kind of familiarize yourself with what the days look like and the speakers.
I'm on mute. Yeah, that's wonderful advice, Sedelta. Does anyone else have a kind of something to say towards that? How you would give advice, or how you would suggest structuring your day or maximizing your time while you're at NCORE?
Pat?
I
Yeah.
would add, I would echo, study the book, study the book. Yes, I'm a hands-on book. Electronics, not for NCORE. There's just too much, but study the book, prioritize, and pay attention to whether or not you're a solo attending or you have a posse with you. You have a group that you've brought with you from the institution, and organize before you leave. Okay, so that you know who's going. You'll have some idea of what the conference sessions are. They'll be up. They won't have the extensive explanation, but you'll know a little bit about what you're going to find. Pick sessions that you know you can share, because you can't do everything that's been said. You just can't. But if you organize, check in with each other regularly, and make sure that when you're done, you go back to your institutions and share the experience that you've had. So determine the sessions that you'll cover, and again, prioritize and then debrief.
Yes.
If I may.
Excellent. Yes, go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. Oh, Amalia, seconding Pat, like definitely bringing it back to your spaces to discuss, reflect, so important. I think just also recognizing there are so many sessions and keynotes, and there are also these like incredible in-between activities, different convenings, book signings, caucuses. So I highly recommend like looking at all the other types of programming going on and trying to get involved, connecting with people on a more intimate level.
Thank you. Let's go to Dr. Tita, and then Vanessa, and then we'll go to Mycall. So Tita
Yes.
Feraud, who's one of our 2023 Dick Hilbert Student Scholars. She's going to talk a bit more about her experience later, but what advice would you give to folks about how to maximize their time at NCORE?
In addition to all the amazing great advice that everyone already provided, for the NCORE app, I don't know if you would advise this, but I added all the sessions I was interested in, even though they overlap. And the reason why was because, granted, I'm only one person, I can only attend one session. I was able to get the contact information of the people who are running those sessions I couldn't attend and reach out to those folks, because most people, you can easily Google them and find their emails from their professional organizations. So I'll just add that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what you'll find this year is that you'll receive a paper book when you check in, but the more detailed information, the more detailed the more detailed description of the session, as well as the detailed information of the presenters, will be available exclusively in the app. That's partly one for sustainability and also two for ease of access. Because if we put those long descriptions in the book, I think last year it was a couple hundred pages, right? And so considering that we'll be on the island of Hawaii, or we'll be in Honolulu, we want to make sure that we are being as sustainable as possible. Let's see. Mycall, go ahead.
Yeah, so just really quickly, I think everyone shared some really good insights. Something that I like to say is to like have a plan, but to be willing for that plan to go completely left and not hold yourself too tight to it. Some workshops, and you never know which one, but some workshops can be incredibly like packed, so you might not have space to get to a workshop. So being willing to like go to a workshop that maybe you think you might not like, and not to get too, this is more of a thing for myself. Be sure to remind yourself, like, okay, you want to go to this, that's not gonna happen. Like throwing a tantrum isn't gonna, do anything. So you might as well try and go to another session or do something else at the time. I also will name, like, I say this and I'm not telling you not to like go to workshops and presentations, but I want to be clear that like to take care of yourself first. And if that means you need to like not be at all the keynotes, if it means you need to like take a beat, if you're like really vibing with somebody, just really are like, you went to a session together and y'all like maybe got a snack together and you want to spend some more time together to just connect and chat more, be open to that as well. Yeah. And also if you lose your book, which you probably, to not lose your book, maybe write your name in your book, because especially if you're with a lot of different folks, you'll be like, everyone will have their different booklets and you'll get confused as to who's who. And unlike a lot of folks here, and I'm not good at tech, I usually use my phone because it's a little bit easier for me to just like carry that. My purse might not be, able to hold such a big booklet. So that's just a few things I wanted to say.
In that I hear flexibility, willingness to pivot, and just kind of be in the space, be in the moment, which is very important. Vanessa, go ahead.
Thank you, Dedrick. I think the other thing is, I remember when I first attended NCORE as a student, and I felt a lot of pressure in terms of, one, selecting the sessions I should be going to, but also staying in the session the entire time and just absorbing everything. And there were moments where I felt like sessions were not what I wanted to get out of the space. And I want to say, like, it's okay to also change sessions. It's okay to also, if you're in a session and it's not what you were hoping to receive from that space, it's perfectly okay for you to get up and go to another session. There's every year in the Cutie Pot Caucus, we do hear this a lot about folks feeling obligated to stay just out of respect, and just know that like NCORE is a really warm and affirming space. And so because of that, like if the session is, you need to go to another session or you need to go take care of yourself or do something, that's perfectly okay.
Excellent advice. Yes, you have permission to learn what you need to learn from the space. Everyone does. So Vanessa, while you're still here, let's pivot and kind of understand a bit more about your own personal transformation through what you've learned through your experiences of it in NCORE. Is there a specific event, conversation, interaction that you've had that has really transformed how you operate and how you function in your professional life?
There's not just one moment. I have a moment every year. I have a moment every conference. Every conference, there's always a moment, whether it's what Mycall was saying around the impromptu meetup, or I'm just going to go to the local coffee shop because I'm an introvert, so I need space sometimes. And then someone who was either in one of my workshops or someone who was at the conference is like, hey, can I sit with you and can we talk? And every year there's a moment of where not only do I received concrete skills and education from NCORE, but also as a person, I've developed and grown. I'm having struggle picking just one, because there really is one every year. I have to say, I think probably some of the most impactful moments consistently is within the Cutie Pot Caucus. To see new emerging and student leaders in the space who are excited about the work and want to do the work. Because that's how I got introduced into NCORE, and a lot of the work that I do now is from having onto NCORE, seeing possibility models of myself, and to be a possibility model to folks now is every year I kind of cry and process it. But that's always really impactful. And then meeting other colleagues who I may not have known otherwise, but I met them at NCORE and we do similar work. And there's so many moments. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming because you have a lot of moments, but there's really one every year for me.
That's really beautiful, because I think for a lot of folks, you hit on something that is very important, which is that representation, right? They saw a model of what could be by attending NCORE, or maybe attending the workshop or someone that represents their identity group, and being able to see, oh, I can do that. No, 100%, absolutely. I felt that because I've had that very similar experience at NCORE. Sedelta, would you mind answering that question for us? Like, reflecting on your experience at NCORE, how has it transformed yourself as a person or the work that you do?
So I started NCORE 20 years ago, and I was an undergrad. And at the time, I didn't really fully understand, how I fit into the institution. At times, I didn't feel like I fit in at the institution. And I always kind of felt like, just, I don't know, weird. Every time I walked in rooms, people would look at me and stare, and I have a different name and I look different. And I just wasn't, I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. And then when I came to NCORE and I started talking with different people and going to sessions, I kind of started having a better understanding of why I feel the way I feel and how these institutions are designed to like make me feel that way. And it's something that I struggle and carry with me every day, because I now work in an institution that, we're a large labor union. And so just what does that mean? We're trying to do racial and social justice work. How does that show up? How does that land on me? And I think that for me, NCORE has been just this journey of like understanding myself, understanding institutions, meeting other people who are also kind of in the same space, doing the same work. And I think I always come to NCORE really tired. It's been a year of just crazy things. And I think the last few years we can all agree have been really hard. So you get there and you're tired, you just feel alone. You've been an island out here, and then you get around people who just completely envelop you with love and acceptance, fully and wholly for who you are. I feel like I can enter the space and I just feel like I can, I stand a little taller, I breathe a little better and easier, because I just feel like I'm a place that's just, I don't know, it's a beautiful place to be. And I need that. I need that every year to come in and have that. And so I come in, and I think NCORE has helped me find people, find speakers, find resources to help me in the work I do. And even just to help me personally to remember this kind of journey I am, and like trying to understand myself and these institutions and how they affect me and other people in my community.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And just on a personal note, one of my first interactions as an employee with NCORE was with Sedelta and Matika Wilbur. And Sedelta, that feeling that you just described, you were able to give me as a new employee, because I had no idea what I knew what I was doing, but like it's still very nerve-wracking when it's your first few moments on a job like this, where it's such a big production, and it's such a big moment, right? And Sedelta and Matika both gave me very kind words, and I felt like I was a nervous wreck, but they were very warm and inviting. And so again, it's that sense of community that seems like the overarching theme that I'm continuing to hear through our conversations and through the answers that we're receiving from our panelists, is that community. And if you ask anyone that works at NCORE, our swishers will tell you that what we do is organize learning communities. Like, we don't do we don't do social justice work. We don't do um uh protests. We don't do academia. We don't do scholarly things. Like what we do is we create space for folks to come and learn from each other and then take that back and organize their own learning communities and impact their campuses. So I think that's really beautiful. Um let's I think does anyone else have like something they want to add to that question? Any of our panelists about how NCORE, your experience at NCORE has transformed you personally or professionally?
I mean, I could talk.
Yeah, come on,
Um,
Maya.
Gosh, I don't know. The thing that just keeps coming to mind is like, okay, we have this community that you keep talking about. It's so real and so true. I love
Mhm.
that, if folks have been there, been to NCORE or not, you will suddenly feel a sense of like, like just you will be able to breathe, you know, and that is everything. So NCORE has allowed me to do that and like realize that the work that I do can be liberatory, it can be fun. As
Mhm.
I hear like many of our folks, Loretta Ross say, fighting white supremacy should be fun, so we're here to do that.
Yes.
And I think just like witnessing the power of the presenters, the speakers, it's so inspiring. I think I'm certain that everybody here has witnessed like the power of somebody inspiring and speaking to you. And that to me is what consistently every year when I show up, I like go rush to like watch a keynote, and I know that as soon as I leave, I will feel re-energized to keep going. And I
Mhm.
think that's what we need. And I also believe that we are going to keep going, here. So I'm grateful for that. And just I never feel, while I do feel tired, sometimes I do feel
Mhm.
re-energized once NCORE comes
Yeah,
around. So I think that piece of like transformation, like every year I'm just like re-energized. So I'm grateful for that.
100%. I love that. So I want to ask the next question, but I do want to like preface this by saying by no means are we excluding, right, anyone. But also realizing that a lot of the spaces that are created and organically created and also intentionally created at NCORE are for persons of color, right? Are for people of marginalized community. So how would you suggest someone that maybe is not part of the marginalized community um, step into these spaces? How would you suggest that they prepare and engage in a meaningful way coming to NCORE, coming to a space such as NCORE?
Me.
You, yes, you. You're
I,
already on camera.
this is a heavy question. I
Yeah,
just will say, listen, just listen.
mm, yeah,
I don't know how to answer this question completely, but I think at the end of the day, it's just taking a step back, listen, come into the space, learn.
yeah.
Don't ask people questions, just listen. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all. That's all you got to say, boo. I love that. No, absolutely. I also want to hear from Pat. Um, as someone that's seen the shift of the NCORE community, also seen the growth of the NCORE community. Is there advice, if any, you can give someone that maybe is not in the maybe not in the same identity group as others, ways that you would suggest that they prepare and also engage with the community in a meaningful way?
I would remind them to do the two things I talked about earlier. And that is, if you're going solo, make sure you do your homework before coming. If you're going with another group, and hopefully you are, that you have some conversations before coming so that you know something about NCORE before you get there. But encompassed in that is to at least start doing your own personal work around social justice. Not just checking a box or learning a definition, but really closely examining who you are, your identities, your intersections, how you walk through the world, to know your triggers. And sometimes you've never paid attention to that. But you're going to, all of us get triggered at NCORE. I mean, that's where our learning edges are. That's where we discover what it is that what work we still need to do. And so, and in this day and time, we are surprised every day, and there is no work that anybody has that is like doing this work. This is religion, this is education, this is personal, this is political, it is all of the above. And so the real important thing for me, for those who are not or don't see themselves as part of this community or entering this community for the first time, is to be clear about why you're attending. You know, why are you here? And so trying to figure that out. And most important is learning how to have difficult conversations and make connections, but be patient with you. As a white person, be patient with you. You didn't just get to where you are with your understandings or your perspectives in a hot minute. It's not going to change in a hot minute. And so this is a journey. So somebody said this is a marathon. It is truly that. And so be patient, listen. Don't expect to be taught by other participants. And, you know, don't enter into that space, but establish relationships and make connections.
Yes, thank you. We'll take an answer from Vanessa. What would you like to say on the topic, Vanessa?
Yeah, thank you, Dedrick. I think when it comes, particularly since NCORE is the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity, particularly for white folks, I think it's one, being prepared to be uncomfortable and know that holding that discomfort is not the responsibility of everyone else. And I think that's really important.
Well said.
There
Well said.
will be sessions, there will be moments that will be challenging. And as Pat said, triggering is kind of like our learning edges, right? And so that those pieces may start coming up, and it's not the responsibility of the people in the room around you or at the conference to do that processing for you. So I definitely recommend developing those strategies before coming to NCORE. And I think moving beyond that, you know, all of us hold both marginalized and privileged identities and experiences simultaneously. And I think it's really important to examine those before coming to NCORE. And so if we are engaging in a space that is really around one of our areas of growth, as I like to say, really being prepared to kind of do your own analysis and prep around like, okay, I hold privilege in this space. Yes, I may be marginalized and targeted in other spaces and with my other identities, but in this moment, I am a person of privilege who has access to power. And so how do I need to show up and move in this space? I think a lot of folks who come to NCORE need a little more of that preparation, because just it'll allow you to be engaged in the space better. It'll allow you to take things out of the space, and you'll be better able to and set up for success in terms of engagement.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Vanessa. Thank you for that. I thank you for adding that, because I think it's very important that what I heard from all three of you really answering is the ability to self-analyze, right? To step away and realize that in order for you to engage with the space in a full and deep and meaningful way, you have to be willing to critically analyze yourself, right? And accept that for what it is and learn. Yes. So I'm going to pivot for a few moments. I'd like to introduce three of our 2023 Dick Hilbert Student Scholar Award recipients, Gislene Reis, Andrea Toles, and Tita Feraud-King. Welcome, folks. Come on in.
Welcome.
Hi, Gislene.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Great, great. Hello, hello. So you all were selected through rigorous selection process to come to NCORE as students. Each of you presented on the three different ways of presenting. So as a student scholar, you must attend a certain number of sessions. You also have to attend this, that would include keynotes, but also you have to present at NCORE either through a concurrent workshop, a poster, or what we call a Picha Kucha conversation starter. And so let's start with Gislene. What was your experience as a student scholar?
Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. It's my name is Gislene Reis, né? As Derek told, I'm international student from Brazil, and my major in educational human resource development. And I am a doctoral student, and I'm in my third year. Being a student scholar is why something that I want a lot. I want a lot. I prepare my application for more than 1 month, and I wait the result with so anticipation. My heart, all the time I receive an email about the conference. So during my journey as a student, I felt privileged and honor to be a student scholar. When I saw my picture in the big screen with my name, my institution for more than 5,000 people, I say, wow. It was the recognition, my sacrifice to move from Brazil to the US. My first action is take a picture and send it to my mom. So so it's something that I'm so proud to be a student scholar. Can you ask again your question? I lost a lot.
Yeah. What was your experience?
So
As a student scholar, was there something most memorable, or was there something that really kind of just stuck with you?
yeah, I think the conference team did a wonderful job, make an incredible experience for us. The student scholar have a lot of activities for us, like the student scholar orientation webinar, like this, student scholar, student reception, the pre-conference institute. So I present in a poster section. I choose the poster section, but you are able to change. If you want, you can present poster section, you can present a conversation started. So for me, it was amazing experience. I learned a lot. I attended many sections about inclusion, diversity, equity in workplace. And I use this knowledge for my research, for my thesis. I'm in stage that I started to writing my proposal. So this conference gave me the knowledge to know more about the topic. So for me, I continue being a student scholar because everybody I said for the people, I share my experience. I say, oh, I was a student scholar last year, and I talk about the conference. So I think that I learned a lot of techniques, a lot of tools, in one amazing environment. In one environment that you can share your opinion, you can you can change a lot. You don't feel like uncomfortable to talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful. Andrea, what about for you? You presented the Picha Kucha. So Picha Kucha is Japanese for conversation starter. And so it was a session within a session. Uh, and then you were able to present again for our webinar series. So what was your experience as a student scholar?
Well, again, as Dedrick said, my name is Andrea. I am a senior at Florida Gulf Coast University. I am currently a major in integrated studies with a minor in race and ethnic studies. Last year, yeah, I know, a lot. Last year was my first NCORE. So my first NCORE, I was a student scholar, which was such an amazing, amazing opportunity. My supervisor at the time, he just said, you should apply. And I was like, okay, I guess. And I wrote my application and I was accepted, and we were all like rejoicing around the office. And then I had a unique experience in that I had 17 of my classmates come with us to NCORE. So I was the only one who was a student scholar, and it was sort of an amazing experience because all of them tried to come to the Pichakucha session to like be in the audience while I'm giving my presentation. So that was a lot of fun. And then we had a lot of debriefs and things like that. And so I felt a lot of love at NCORE. It was amazing. I literally just pulled out my notebook that I took with me to NCORE, and I was just reminiscing on all the notes that I took and all the opportunities I was given to just be in this very professional, I had never been to a conference before, very professional setting where, you know, my opinion was valued. It was actually wanted, and people were interested to hear what I had to say. So I attended a few wonderful sessions just learning about, you know, what DEI work looks like, what anti-Blackness looks like in America. A lot of wonderful sessions. I'm sure everyone could go on and on about their favorite ones from NCORE. But my experience specifically, just to echo what was just said, it was just amazing. I loved it. We had cohort members, and sometimes we would like hang out outside of like the activities that we had. Some of us just sort of like partnered up, and we would be talking about like what we were gonna do. I loved giving a Pichakucha because it was super simple. You're in, you're out, and you get to hear from a lot of different voices in the community that's presenting on a myriad of topics. So I gave my presentation twice. So at NCORE last year in New Orleans, and then also via webinar. And my presentation is just on Black love in movies. And I chose it because I'm a hopeless romantic and I just love, but also just to sort of highlight what Black love looks like in the media when it's not just with TV. And so I felt so encouraged to not necessarily go into a very academic, I guess, topic and speak more about, I don't know, some sort of pop culture references. And so I was so grateful that NCORE provided that space for me, and that I felt secure and safe in delivering that to people, and that people wanted to hear it. So to sum it up, it was amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. And Dr. Tita, what was your experience as student scholar? I know that you gave a concurrent workshop, but you also had the cutest little baby with you.
Yes, and she's in the background causing chaos. So I did have an opportunity to present on one of the current panel sessions. It was called Promoting Racial Justice Through Diverse Student Leadership at Historically White Institutions. And I agree with everyone. NCORE was an amazing opportunity. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad you brought up my daughter, because that's the thing that stood out to me the most. Having my child, she was only 1.5 years old with me, and it was just us two in New Orleans, and going through the experience and finding that NCORE was very affirming of me having her with me. I like to challenge the status quo. I mean that's part of NCORE, is challenge the status quo, right? And so I tend to have my daughter with me a lot when I go to conferences and meetings. I know people are judging me, but that's the point. Why are you judging me? And I felt like NCORE was true to their values of disrupting the status quo, is in particular my identity as a mother in professional spaces. People were so nice and helpful. They're all willing to help support. In addition to the support that I received with her, I felt being a student scholar, I received a lot of support with the debrief sessions. I'm going to miss that. I'm attending NCORE, but not as a student scholar. So I'm going to miss having that structured space to just connect and chat and share what's going on. I really appreciate that. And there were so many great sessions that really helped me because I just defended my for my PhD and entering into my new job almost 1 year in as a director who focused on doing a lot of trainings for faculty and staff. And a lot of the learnings that I've learned from NCORE, I incorporate into the work I do today. So thank you.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Super happy to hear that. Yeah, and so I appreciate you affirming our ability to meet our actions with our values. Like that means a lot to us. So let's see. We've got about 30 more minutes. I'm going to spend a little bit more time with the student scholars, and then I want to open everything up. So Gislene, were you able to, can you tell me and Vanessa did not do a good job of this because there's so many memorable moments, which I totally understand that. I have way too many as well. But can you tell me what your most memorable moment or memorable takeaway from last year's NCORE as a student scholar was for you?
It's a difficult question because I have many,
Yes, I
many,
know. But I get to
many
ask it, so.
wonderful. Yeah, but I think that when I saw my picture in the big screen in the keynote section, I feel a lot of emotion. The last day I cried because the team they recognize, call your name. Who is the student scholar in the audience? Gave you like some recognition. It's a beautiful moment. I think the student reception, when you receive your certificate,
Mhm.
and the day that you present my research, because I am able to share, and it's one of the moments that you feel that, oh, now I'm a scholar, now I'm research, now I'm has something to give my contribution for
Mhm.
the world, for the society. So I think it's the three moments I don't know. I think that being a student scholar reminds me where I'm coming from. I'm coming from Brazil in a very community, simple community. So I think being a student scholar reminds me where I'm coming from, where I'm now,
Mhm.
where I get to. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity. So thankful. Make it so
Yeah.
special.
Most definitely. Andrea, what about you? What was your most memorable moment or takeaway from NCORE as a student scholar last year?
Giving my presentation for sure. I very much remember how nervous I was right before. I had brought like this whole extra outfit to change into, and my shoes weren't working out, and it was just a lot of chaos, a lot of things happening before, and I was like trying to do some deep breathing exercises, just trying to calm down. Because it is nerve-wracking. It just is. Like I've given a lot of presentations in my role as a student director, and just in my role as a coordinator assistant, plenty of presentations, but it doesn't matter because every single time I get nervous, and so NCORE was no different.
Mhm.
But I loved it. It was amazing to sort of talk about something that I love, something that I feel very passionate about sharing with people. And then I connected with so many amazing people afterwards. So people came up to me who had heard my presentation and were like, "Oh, I just love what you did. You know, I know this person who's an author, and they would have loved to hear it. Can we like connect?" And like it, I absolutely, that was like one of my favorite things, was just sort of giving my presentation and hearing people give me, you know, honest and open feedback about how it was. And it was simply wonderful. And I love just being part of the group. Like our debrief session, I think we did it that Friday or Thursday. I can't remember the actual day, but that debrief session was also top tier highlight, because we all
Oh,
hadn't been
good.
in the same room together. Like, of course, the
Yeah.
ones who gave our Picha Kucha, we were all together, but all of us hadn't been together. And so we were just sort of shooting the breeze, like just talking with each other, giving
Mhm.
open and honest feedback to you, and talking amongst each other about like our highs, our lows, you know, things that we wanted to do next year. Some people had been student scholars before. Some people had been to just NCORE before, not as a student scholar. And then some people were like me who had never been to either, like had never experienced either. So that was also a really big highlight that I love, that debrief session afterwards and giving my presentation.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Tita, what was your most memorable takeaway or most memorable moment as a student scholar last year?
Great question. And similar
Yeah.
to yes, she has a lot to say as well. She was sharing her memorable experience. So similar to Gislene, I the reception stood out to me the most. And the reason why for me, so one of the research projects I was working at that time, which we just recently wrapped up as a research group, was on Black Joy on college campuses. And as I reflect back at NCORE, I felt that when I was at the reception, seeing the number of Black folks just living and being themselves, and I can't describe the feelings. It's undescribable. You have to be there. But I would say top number one was the receptions, especially I think it was the first night reception, the official
Mhm.
reception, and that gave me goosebumps just to see how joyful everyone was.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Memorable as well. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, the three of you, very much. I appreciate you. Um, I appreciate you three agreeing to do this and share your expertise. I know that we have several Dick Hilbert Scholarship recipients for 2024 on the call today. So I wanted to make sure to highlight the work that these students do and what they bring to the NCORE community and the voice. So yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. So where we have about 20 minutes left. I have one final question for all of our panelists. And I want to make sure to give them enough time to go over it. So let's see. Who do I see first? I see Vanessa first. I don't know how you keep getting to the front, Vanessa, but you keep coming up first, baby. um, can you share the most concrete fact or valuable insight you've gained from the conference overall?
Oh my goodness. I think
I know.
Dedrick, you're killing me with the question. I think the most concrete thing that I've taken away is that everything has nuance.
Mm,
There's nuance for everything. There's always when I was in undergrad, I took I did women's studies in undergrad, and I did my senior seminar, and my professor said you have to learn how to F with the grays.
mm,
And that's something that always stuck out to me. And every time I go to NCORE, when I feel as though I'm pretty literate on and read on a particular issue, there's always a nuance that I'm learning at NCORE. And that's something I always leave with, of like, the world is so complicated and so nuanced, and nuance will save us also. Everything has nuance.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Next, Dr. Tita. What would you say has been the most concrete fact or valuable insight that you've gained from the conference?
This is a hard one too. I owning up to your mistake. I feel like that, and that we are none of us are beyond reproach. If even when we are doing the work itself, I'm just thinking back on some of the workshops I participated, and how some of the presenters demonstrated, and how I respected those presenters more when they're like, okay, this is how I screwed up in the past when it related to this topic, and this is how I'm trying to still work through it.
Mhm.
And I feel as if that gives them more validity on the topic they're talking about. And I'm constantly thinking about that when I'm doing this type of work.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That's excellent insight. Next, I see Pat. Oh, I always love hearing from Pat. Pat, as our elder in the community, what are some concrete, you probably have multiple insights and concrete facts that you've learned over the years in the conference? What would you answer to that question?
You're absolutely right. I was surprised myself to see it was plus 25 years, 28 years. It's a long time. I've learned facts, and then I've learned things like Vanessa mentioned, the nuance piece. Such an important thing to bring up, Vanessa. It was an eye-opening experience for me to actually face what it meant to be a multicultural ally. For example, we throw those words around all the time, but we're both giving and receiving. Yeah. And so what does it mean in the context of multiculturalism or in social justice work? And to actually have someone just kind of drill that down for me, that was really important. The other thing in the work that you do, that I do, at least around organizational development, that somebody has really discussed and researched multicultural organizational development. That was a totally new set of concepts for me 20 years ago. And I still use it. I still lean on it. But from this piece of what I have gained as far as an insight, there's a place where I can deepen my own learning. Yeah, I'm the elder, octogenarian, I get it. But this work has probably kept me vibrant, if I can even own vibrancy. But
you absolutely can own vibrancy, Ms. Pat.
Okay, all right, but it helps me. It helps me deepen my own learning.
Yeah.
NCORE is known for, and I know everybody on this call will agree, you develop lifelong relationships through NCORE. So this is not just a one and done or goodbye or I went to this conference. For those of you who had your first conference last year, here I am having conferences after I've retired. And think about that. And in those relationships, I've got coaches, I've got co-pilots, I've got folks in my kitchen cabinet. And all of these folks have helped rescued me sometimes from all the uglies that come with this work. And sometimes we get to feel hopeless. What comes after hopelessness? And I can remember 2 years ago, I was in a really bad place. And one of my lifelong relational members of my posse said, Pat, you don't lose hope. After hope, there's aspiration for hope. There's so many degrees of hope. And so that was part, and that's what I carry with me. When I get, yucked and ugly, there's hope. And, keep hope alive. I know that's running through your head, but it's real. And these lifelong relationships are real.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. Gislene, would you like to answer that question for us? what was the most impactful takeaway or maybe most insight that you got
Uh,
from the conference?
I think I met incredible scholars with respectful like studies. So I think they are experts in the field. So I think that you need to take advantage of this opportunity. And I felt
Mhm.
more strong after I listened the stories of resilience, courage. So the stories connect with my personal life and the objective I have for my future. So I realized that I'm not alone. I mean, definitely
Mm,
I'm not alone.
mm, thank you. That's really beautiful. And that's again about community and meeting those lifelong friends. Amalia, what about for you? What have been some concrete facts, maybe your most valuable insights you've gained?
What a great question. I definitely second Miss Pat on the lifelong relationships, connections and relationships that are to come. I see you, Amanda. We connected even at the booth at NCORE. So it's just so great to have that. People are the power. Like we are the power. What we do here matters. What we take from here matters. Let us be human. Let this be the space of experimentation and exploration. I've learned the fact that
Mhm.
people are going to keep showing up.
Mhm.
Should I?
Mm.
So should we. We are all we got, and we better keep trying. And core is the space to do it. So
Yes.
yeah, that's what I
Thank
got.
you, Amalia. Thank you very much. Mycall, do you have an answer for us? Do you have any um words of wisdom and beauty about what you've learned, what your insights, most valuable insights, most concrete facts that you've learned here at the conference?
Yeah, first, thank you. And I really appreciate hearing everyone's insights. Even though this is like my 13th, 14th NCORE, I'm always still learning and like gathering a lot of insights, even from our time together like this before the conference starts. Um, when I first started attending NCORE, right, I had a somewhat, like it was a really young and excited idea, and I understand where it came from, but I was like, okay, so like I'm gonna go to NCORE, right? I'm gonna come back to my campus and I'm gonna like somehow eliminate racism. Like we're just gonna knock it out. Like it's going to like we're going to somehow do, like it's not even just like a little bit, like no, we're gonna get rid of it. And that's just not plausible, right? And so I think sometimes folks coming to these conferences, coming to NCORE especially, will think that like coming here means now that you'll be able to like, you know, beat every adversity that you come face to face with, and that if you didn't do it, you didn't try hard enough. And I want to remind you that these systems and structures are smart and insidious and will be here for a long time, and we can always strive to get rid of those things, but it's not going to, you know, disappear even with all the knowledge and hard work that we have. And I think of NCORE as more like I don't do sports, but like if I did, like I think about it like if we were going to like the Gatorade pitcher. I don't know what them things are, when you get your Gatorade at least you see it in like movies where there's like all the Gatorades in the thing and you push it and whatever they're called. Think about it kind of as those moments where you're gonna come together, get refueled, and like stay in the lifelong journey of attempting to create a more inclusive world, as opposed to something that will like you inherently go and now you will be able to like beat all these systems of inequality, racism, ableism, trans oppression, etc. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
It makes me think of the difference between competency and humility, right? Like competency implying that you came to NCORE and now you know all the things and now you can solve all the things, right? And just being real. I love that. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Let's see. Next, I see Andrea. Andrea, what is your most concrete fact or valuable insight you've gained from the conference? Andrea, are you there? Oh, there you go.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, that's weird. I can't see you either. Wait, oh, there you go. There you go. What was your most concrete fact, valuable insight you gained from the conference?
Well, let me just flip in my little notebook here. I can't remember.
Come on, note taker.
Top of my head. Actually, that's not true. I went to a session with Dr. Doral, I think that's how you say his name, Brooks, and he did his session on critical theory of love.
Yeah,
love as a tool for social justice.
Yes.
That was amazing. That was amazing. My work as a student director, I work primarily in workshops on social justice and leadership, and so a lot of my work within the last year has been offering love as a tool for change, for social change, and making sure that, you know, you do things not because you think it's, well, of course, because you think it's right, but because you love people enough to want them to change for the better, or you want the world to change because you love it. And so that has been something that I've definitely taken and put into practice. And it's really helped me not just professionally, but personally, doing things for my family, for my friends, because I love them. You know, of course you do things out of obligation. Like if somebody needs to borrow some money, I guess you'll have it out of obligation, but it's really helped me change my perspective to say, well, I love you. And so I want you to be the best that you can. And so I've definitely taken what Dr. Brooks said and put it into practice really heavily. And then teaching people that love is a tool for social justice has been really paramount in my experience with my mentees, just letting them know that this work is sometimes unforgiving. Social justice is not, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not going to be different tomorrow. Probably won't be different for another 15 years. We still have so many issues, so many obstacles to overcome. And learning that love is a tool. Love is one of those most powerful emotions you could have. And so using that as a reason to keep going. Yeah, I've really loved what he spoke about and how I've been able to sort of change people's minds about how we are leading the cause for social justice.
Thank you, Andrea. That's beautiful. I remember that session as well. That was one of the sessions that I did not get to see in person. I watched as a webinar. So yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Sedelta, again, as someone that has been to NCORE for a long, long time, and then part of the NCORE family, what are some concrete facts or valuable insights? The most valuable insight maybe you've gained from the experience?
So I can echo what everyone says. It's definitely the relationships. It's the people that you meet there. But I'll never forget one of the conferences was in Indianapolis. And I was having a situation at work, and I was talking to somebody that was like a hero of mine. I admire her and love her so much. And I was talking about what was happening in my job, and I was just explaining something that I wasn't very comfortable with. I'll never forget, she looked at me, she said, "Stop what you're doing." She said, "Stop. You're internalizing this message, and you're internalizing kind of the message of the oppressor." And she said, "It's more harmful than anything that, the system can do to you because you're doing it to yourself." And it was just kind of like aha moment of like, I know about internal oppression and all those things, but to have somebody like just have this moment with me while I'm able to share something and like give me a concrete example, because I teach and talk to other people about it, but I always forget about myself, I think. And I sometimes don't apply all the things I know to myself. And to have her just have that moment with me, I always like moving forward, I think about how not just myself, but other people internalize things and should try to like be more cognizant of it. And that was like one of the greatest conversations I've had in court, because it just helped me personally and professionally in so many ways. And so that was one of the like concrete things that, you know, I remember and take with me.
Wow, that's beautiful, Sedelta. Thank you. So we are almost near our time with everyone today, but I do want to give us some space for questions from viewers and attendees. So yeah, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we'll try to kind of flesh it out or answer it as best we can. Anyone got a question? Anyone want to say anything, comment, maybe ask one of our panelists to um, elaborate more on something that you've heard? It's open.
Derek, can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I
Oh,
can hear you.
this is my notebook. So I strongly recommend for the student scholars have one, because
Hmm.
it's so important you take notes during this moment. So I want to share that it's a basic thing that we need for this conference.
Yes, bring a notebook. I still have my notebook from my first NCORE. So yes. Um, Isha Huda asked how we apply for internships. So that's something that we're actually working on with the Southwest Center. We don't have an internship for NCORE per se, but we have internships out of the University of Oklahoma for the Southwest Center for Human Relations Studies. But you can email ncore@ou.edu, and we'll be able to give you more information about that. I had a question from Raul.
Hi, yes, thanks. My name is Raul, and I'm a recipient. I'm a scholarship recipient as well as a presenter.
Yes.
Yeah, here in Oceanside, so we'll be traveling to, but I'm also University of Hawaii. I'm working remote. So how am I supposed to connect with someone here at the NCORE conference as being a recipient and a presenter? How am I able to juggle both? Is that common? I'm sure it is. Just need to know some
Oh,
kind of direction.
yeah, it's the same thing. And so we'll have a student scholar later, closer to the conference, we'll have like a student scholar webinar where it will just be student scholars. Um, Essentially, what a student scholar is, how do I explain this? As a student scholar, you're required to present. And so since you are already going to be presenting with a concurrent session, just like Dr. Tita did, that part of your requirement as a student scholar is covered. And so you'll receive the award. There's also some other requirements, such as attending other workshops, being recognized at the student scholar reception, and then also the reflection piece, which is done at the end of June. But for the most part, all next steps are done. We'll look forward to seeing you at the end of June. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I'm going to take one more question. It's from Ty Thomas. What items would you recommend we cover with our teams before attending? I'm looking to set a pre-conference meeting and want to ensure I have everyone going in with the right intention. Would any of our panelists like to give that a shot? Yeah, go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh,
Great. I'm bringing students this year or trying to figure that out. And so I know for me, what I'm helping them work through and what I think has been a helpful tool for them is to think about what they want to bring back from NCORE. Like, what are they hoping to get out of the experience beyond just yes, I want to learn, I want to grow. Like, what are the tangible pieces? And having like a communal conversation about how to do that and like what support they may need in getting those getting those experiences from the conference. I think too, having conversation about being kind to themselves. The conference can be very overwhelming for folks who are the first time going. And so like, what are those strategies to also like take care of yourselves and kind of manage expectations of you don't have to go to every single session and every single block. You can also take some time if you need a break. And then I think also sharing, you know, if it's a team, if it's a department, if it's an office, whatever the situation is like what is kind of like the overall intention of sending folks to NCORE and where they fit into that has been really helpful.
Excellent. And then Mycall also has a comment. Go ahead, Mycall.
Well, first off, I just want to say like kudos on bringing a collection of students. I think that's always really beautiful and really allows for like, this can be very, maybe a little corny, very like life-changing. Life-changing. I think Vanessa shared some really insightful points. I also will say, you know, just talking with them around and preparing them whatever ways you can provide like actual tangibles like supports for them, like water bottles, restaurant lists, especially if they're like on a budget, if they need to like keep receipts, like giving them an envelope, any of those kind of like tactical things to really make sure that they're able to, you know, prepare themselves to do some admin to make sure they're able to be supported, I think is really, really useful. And I know we've talked a lot about like notebooks, opportunities to like have like really insightful questions and thoughts. I know every time I've brought students, we've done, not every night, but most nights done like just a quick, like, what did you learn kind of debrief kind of moment. And I think that meant a lot to the students to hear these kind of things and to talk through some of the things they hear, especially from keynotes. I know that during my first year at NCORE, I had like a really like life-changing conversation after one of the keynotes and just some of like the nuances of what they said and some of the things that maybe worked and maybe didn't work. And it was just like really insightful. So holding space for that, which then also means holding space for yourself too. So like finding your own people to like, you know, pour into you and support you as you're maneuvering through that too will be really beneficial.
Okay, so we are at time. Oh, sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Real quickly, for getting everybody together, establish some ground rules. You know, you know, the being in the same session when sometimes things can get a little emotional. Decide upfront, you know, how your ground rules are going to work. That even though we say that spaces are safe, there's no real thing as a safe space, but there is something called brave space, and to be respectful of each other, especially if something triggers in that session and your colleagues and your student peers are there. You know, it may happen. And so kind of think through that. You know, what does that mean? How are you going to handle it, etc.
Beautiful. Thank you so much to everyone that has participated today. I appreciate all of the insight, all of the love, all of the community. It's been beautiful. And I look forward to seeing you all in a little bit over a month in Honolulu. And have a great weekend.